Out of curiosity, have you ever read any, like, or have you ever watched or read any of Matt Holness's, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place stuff?
No, I have not.
You'll appreciate that. Like Matt Holness genuinely seems kind of like a quiet guy. Created this. Basically, it's like the most self-absorbed version of Stephen King in the '80s as a persona called Garth Marenghi. And like when he's written 2 books, and they're like all fourth wall breaking. Like we're literally he's just talking about how amazing his ideas are and like how great an author he is, and interjecting that into the writing itself.
Right. Yeah. No, it's very similar. Yeah.
So it's like I have a feeling I'm going to love this book because it reminds me so much of just that. And is it different? I guess writing something where you do get to interject, where the joke is as important as perhaps the storyline itself. Is that a different kind of mindset writing that versus doing like a grimdark, science fiction book?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the writing process for this was definitely different. But it was very important that the story was just as good as the comedy. I made sure of that. And writing a sci-fi, there was a lot more research being done, a lot more Google searches that are put me on, a lot of lists.
Well, you don't want to have fires in space.
Right. Yeah. You want to avoid that. You want to don't be lazy when you're researching, or don't be lazy when you're writing and not research. Google is right there. It's very easy to use. But yeah, no, this is this was just tracking back to a lot of like previous experiences and then like changing that experience that I had with a customer or something like that, and then changing it into like a fantasy setting allegory kind of situation. And that's why I say it's going to be very cathartic, because like, is it going to be different than that person's experience? Probably, but this main character is going to run into characters that you're going to completely recognize as somebody in your, in your past or something. Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier about like the IT crowd, and everybody knows one of those guys in that show, or everybody knows like an experience that one of those guys has had, because people are people on average.
Yeah, IT crowd's great. I just wish they went a little bit more with the IT jokes though. The internet episode was the best.
So is it Big Ben? Was it where the internet is?
Oh yeah, they keep the little box. I have a T-shirt with that actually. With the internet.
A little 5x6 box where the internet lives at Big Ben. It was what, one blinking light, I think.
Stephen Hawking himself gave us permission.
What is like the premise behind this book? Like in the trailer, you describe it as Harry Potter meets Harry Potter meets Office Space.
Yeah, so it's basically, I was like, what if the fantasy kingdom was like a cubicle 9 to 5 bureaucratic PowerPoint type of job? Like, what would that look like? And how would the comedy, or how would the interactions and everything be like kind of different in the fantasy setting?
Well, and the other thing that like reading up about it was it's kind of got this place where it's confusing magic and science in some way. Like they both apparently exist simultaneously, it sounds like.
I mean, it's definitely more fantasy. Like, I got my power systems in there, but it's like, no, everything's a magical tool, or not everything, but like everybody has to work with a magical tool at some way for like basic work, or self-defense or something like that. So he's the guy who repairs that stuff.
And when you say magical tools, is it like making sure that your rod of blasting always does the blasting? It doesn't automatically accidentally turn people into frogs or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right? But it doesn't always have to be a weapon. It can be like a loom, right? That like makes clothes, right?
Well, no, I figured. It's just I'm trying to relate this to like a D&D mindset, like something that'd be kind of like obvious, or like
one of the first things that happens is you got a customer comes in. He's like one of the guards, and he's got a fire wand, and every time he fires it, he's feeling like hot when he fires it, and like he's talking to one of the side character main like bigger, who's kind of like a more naive character in this, and he just like he's complaining to the main character, like, I don't get it, like it's working exactly how it is. I keep telling him it's working how it is, that it's just he's just feeling. It's like, no, I know I'm supposed to get hot, but like I'm getting way hotter than I should be. I know my tool. And then so what the main character's like, I got it, right? He takes it, he like demagifies it. I call it illumination, so it's deluminate, so it's weaker. and he goes and he tests it, and he's like, "Oh, this is perfect." And now it's I'm not getting so hot. So then he takes off. He's like, "Thanks, you were actually helpful." And Brever's like, "What the hell? You didn't actually fix it." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. Maybe next time when he realizes it's still doing the same thing, he won't come here, or maybe he won't come to me. So it won't be my problem."
When you're crafting a book like this, one of the things I always focus on is audience. You strike me as someone who's definitely done the research, or at the very least has a very specific type of audience in mind for your book. Like you, I mean, is that fair to say? Like you know who the people you think are going to want to read this are.
Well, yeah, I didn't really do the research on it, but it's like, yeah, this is IT allegory, right? So it's like, dude, if you worked IT and you even have a hint of liking fantasy, like pick this book up. Like, there's no reason for you not to pick this up. You're probably going to get more enjoyment out of this than any other book. But it's all the stuff that they're fixing. It's like, yeah, you get like a little extra sense of like ability if you have IT. Like, there's a chapter about blaming it on the distant end, if you catch my drift. But it's very like customer service. So like, if you were a waiter, like we're going to be dealing with a very similar types of customers. So like, it's for the broader audience that's going to be attracted to this book. It's anyone who's worked customer service.
Obviously, that stems from your background. Is there anybody who you think won't like this book?
If you hate comedy, right? Like, no, I mean, I'm sure people don't like a lot of things. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't want to read comedy. Like, they need the actual visual representation of it. But I mean, this is more of an all ages, but like I'll say like 13 up, like it's gonna be completely fine to read this. They'll find humor in it, but you kind of are probably gonna need some level of work experience to get like the deeper meaning of some of the jokes. So if you're not 18, or some people are before 18, but like, yeah, that younger audience probably might not resonate with the book, but there's still going to be things they'll enjoy in it.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel? Like, one of the things that we brought up talking before is that I'm a big fan of reader trust and building building an honest representation of yourself, or building an honest, at least building an honest relationship with your audience. Now, when you're working in comedy, and certainly like when you're kind of developing a character as the author, do you feel like you're shortchanging that part of the audience author relationship, or do you feel like you're maybe enhancing it in some ways by giving it like, kind of pairing off some of like the unnecessary human baggage and just giving it like the very particular condensed, concise version of that person?
I don't know, would a person be like turned off by like a customer reflected badly, and they kind of are fitting that customer?
Well, no, I guess so. When you go out there and you're trying to promote a book, one of the things I think is important to actually selling books is that the reader or potential audience and you have an understanding of each other, and you kind of you're developing that relationship, because that's what's going to keep people around. Like I you put two Cthulhu themed books next to each other, the thing that's going to make me pick one over the other is going to be the guy on the back cover.